posted on our YouTube channel afterwards. So if you want to revisit any of the stuff that we go over today, you can obviously just contact me directly, or it will be online. So, all right. So yeah, Stacey, would you mind going to the next slide? Okay. There we go. Okay, so I like to start out all of my presentations with an outline just because I feel like it gets us all on the same page. Today we're going to talk about why students choose their majors. We're going to do a little activity called Which Major, Which Job? And then we're going to really dive into how to create your career pathway and connect some of the different majors that you all are in to different pathways and what you can do with them. As well as talk a lot about transferable skills and some resources at the end, because for all of you who are in the audience, I am sure, actually, if you wouldn't mind, I'm really curious, just put in the chat if you can, and you guys here, you can just say what your major is, if you're able to put that in the chat. I just want to see what kind of audience that we have. So I'm going to ask you all, if you don't mind, what each of your majors are.
I'm math and econ.
Math and econ, okay.
I'm psychology.
Psychology.
Psychology as well.
Psychology as well, okay. All right, so we have, all right, so we have psychology, English, social, history, psych. Mohammed, you are in my class. I appreciate the humor, the unemployment of international politics. We will address that. Global and international studies in Spanish, GLIS, good, okay. Crim, English, international politics, psych, good. Okay, yeah, so we have a lot of different majors that are represented here, and I think there are so many different majors within liberal arts, and so we're going to talk about a lot about like what skills, like concrete skills you're gaining from that liberal arts education today. So all right, Stacey, would you mind going to the next slide? Okay, so I'm going to ask everybody to use the chat again, and just why you all think students choose the majors that they do. So I'm going to pick on our in-person people first. I hope that that's okay with you. Any ideas or guesses? Like, think about why you or your peers have chosen your majors. And for those on Zoom, feel free to pop that in the chat.
Maybe there was a class in that major that inspired them. I know for me, when I took Psych 100, I decided I really liked psychology from that. Yeah,
absolutely. So like a class where you like really connected with the material and maybe liked reading the book just for the sake of reading the book. Good. Okay.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I guess like the idea that like you have like you can see yourself like next 8 or so years just like being like super engrossed in like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like a calling or a pull or a connection to like a specific area of study. Good. Yeah.
I would say personality.
Yeah.
If somebody likes to communicate, it's more likely to choose liberal arts majors.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost like it's connecting to your skills or your kind of core values. I know for me, I knew that I wanted to go into a career of helping people, and so I chose a major that kind of reflected that. And so I see a couple of people, thank you, Stacey, that put in here passion or interest, money. Thank you, Joseph, for putting in money, because I think that that's something that we write off a lot, but financial stability and wellness is a really big thing, and it's really important to acknowledge. And a job that might connect with your interests, good. Caitlin enjoyed the subject prior to college. Yeah, absolutely. Enhances their skills, they're good at it. I always love meeting with the students who are like, well, I'm really good at this, but I don't want to do it. And I always have to kind of underscore the fact that just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you have to do it as a career. Mohammed, you realized that you weren't a good fit for your previous major, even though you did really good in bio, but D's in both chem and physics, and don't even mention that. Mohammed, I appreciate that. Because yeah, absolutely, not doing well in some of those entry-level courses can be definitely be an indicator that that might not be for you. I know that that's the way it was for me when I was a first-year student. I think it was a physiology course, and I'm a Penn State alum, so I'm taking classes here, and a college algebra course, and I did not do well in those classes, but was a really good high school student. So that was an indication to me that maybe the maths and the sciences in college weren't for me. So I can relate, Mohammed. I appreciate your honesty. All right, so we can go to the next slide, Stacey. Yeah, so these are some of the different things, and I feel like this was touched on by everybody who on Zoom and in person, like why students do choose their majors is maybe they've had a past experience, like maybe they had spent time and had to do a senior project in high school volunteering for, say, like a nursing home, and realized that they really connected with the older adult population and wanted to work with them. Or maybe they are influenced by their peers, which, you know, for better or for worse. But a lot of times, like Penn State in particular has so many different majors that sometimes you don't hear about a subject until you get here. Interest is a big one, and that's the one we're going to focus on today, because my goal is always for students and people in general just to be able to kind of capture and connect to their interests and follow their curiosity. Money, we talked a little bit about financial wellness and how it's important to assess that. Skills, maybe you're naturally gifted at math or economics or writing or something like that, and you know that that's kind of pulling you in that direction. And also, I wouldn't be lying to say, like, parents. I know that parents, or whether it's parents or role models or important adult figures in your life, really, they can add what sometimes they think is very good pressure, but it might not be the best pressure to choose something that you might not be connecting to. So these are just, I want you all to reflect on, and just, you can think to yourself, you don't have to share, about why you chose your own major, and how that connects to like your core values and where you want to see yourself in a work environment. Because the more that our values are reflected in our work environment, the more that we're going to derive meaning from that work. All right, so would you mind going to the next one, Stacey? Okay, so so for those who are on Zoom, you can, I'm gonna ask you to all to shout out over the chat in a bit what you think the answers are. But you can just kind of either take a screenshot or make a guess, like, as we go through. But for those in person, I'm just gonna, oh, thanks. And I brought that. Yes. Okay. Just take, I'll give you guys like 3 minutes or so, just 3 to 5 minutes to just fill out what major you feel connects with the job that's listed here. Because as we're thinking about what we can do with our liberal arts majors, it's going to be important, again, to recognize where your desire to major in that subject came from, which we kind of just went through. But now we're making that jump of connecting a major to a specific career path and how to get there. So I'll stop talking and I will give you all, let's say, like 3 minutes or so to just kind of take your best guess. And like I said, for those on Zoom, feel free to write it on a Word doc, or if you have a pen or pencil, you can just write and guess. Oh, Stacey, do you want to play along? Yeah, sure. Thank you. For those on Zoom who can't tell, I have my our program coordinator, Stacey Hoffman, here, who is helping me with all the technology today. So she's behind the camera. I'll give you credit.
See, if we're in person, we get a major bank of things
You
to
do,
choose from,
you
but-
do, yeah. But everybody else gets to kind of do their best and guess.
Yeah.
I'll give you all another minute. Should I set a timer? About 30 seconds. Yay, okay. Good. All right, thanks, Stacy. All right, about 10 more seconds for this to finish up. Okay. Okay, all right, so thank you for kind of taking the time to do this activity. So what I'm gonna have people in the chat do is I'm gonna go through each one of these and I want you to type what you feel like the answers are. And then for those who are in person, I'm gonna ask you what you put down. Okay, so the first one is the special prosecutor for the district attorney's office. So, okay, we have law, a couple people in there saying law. What did you guys put?
Government.
Government, okay. Law, okay, government, good. A bond trader on Wall Street.
Economics.
Economics, finance, econ, okay, good. Econ, okay. English as a second language teacher in Korea.
Asian American Studies.
Asian American Studies, that's a great one, yeah, okay. GLIS, ESL in Korean, ESL, good, okay. A foreign service officer.
French and Spanish.
French and Spanish, yeah, that's what you put too.
I put government.
Government, okay, yeah, government, okay.
International relations,
National politics, political science, okay, so there's like a theme here, good. So an RNC, public relations staff.
Government.
Government.
Yeah.
Good, okay. Poli-sci. So government, poli-sci, good. Veterinarian.
I put chemistry.
Chemistry, okay. No, you weren't sure. That's okay. That was a hard one, yeah. Pre-vet, yeah. So Penn State actually has a pre-vet major. Bio, pre-med, bio, yeah. How about a psychotherapist?
Psychology.
Psych, okay, yeah, that one's pretty direct. Psych, okay. Latin teacher. Classics. So like CAMS, classics, ancient Mediterranean studies. Yeah, we have classics on there. Latin education. That's great, Joseph. Yeah. Editor. English. Okay.
Dramatic arts.
Dramatic arts. Okay. Yeah, I love that. All right. English journalism. Okay. How about minister? Religion. Okay. Anybody on philosophy? Okay. Theology. Okay. How about high school geography teacher? Geography. Okay. Like secondary education, Cynthia. Yeah. Oh, okay. Your mind was going to political minute. That absolutely makes sense. Instead of, I should have been clear. You can definitely tell that this is a U.S. centric activity. Yes. Okay. Cartoonist. Art. Okay. Arts. Okay. Graphic design, good. Okay, and then last one is the MTV program developer.
I did dramatic arts.
Dramatic arts, yeah, so like arts. Anybody online? No guesses? Comms, okay, yeah, good, okay, so Stacy, drum roll please. All right. So here are the answers. Okay, so the special prosecutor majored in art. The bond trader on Wall Street was Asian American Studies. English as a second language teacher was in Chem. Foreign Services was Classics. RNC Public Relations was Dramatic Arts. Veterinarian was Econ. Psychotherapist was English. Latin teacher was French and Spanish. Editor was Geography. Minister was Government. So who knows? Maybe it could have been a more of a political minister. High school Geography teacher was Government. Cartoonist was Psych, and then MTV program director or developer was Religion. So the purpose of this activity comes from a book, and so I like to do it because I think it just shows that your major does not necessarily always connect with your career paths. It's more so the skills and the experiences that you have. Obviously, we want you all to have an education that is supporting your interests and hopefully like leading you into a career path that's connecting practice to theory. However, sometimes that doesn't happen. Maybe you get to your last semester and you are an education major, and you get to your last semester and you do student teaching and you wind up hating student teaching. Yeah, absolutely. And you have to pivot and you have to move and go in a different direction, but you can still use those skills that you gain to go forward. So I know that this comes from a book, so I like to use real world examples from Penn State alumni just to kind of solidify this. So Stacey, would you mind? So the first one is Chad Littlefield. He is an entrepreneur, co-founder and speaker and facilitator at the company called We. Lives in Asheville. And then Stacey, if you wouldn't mind just going here. He majored in rehabilitation, human services, and psychology. So you would think that somebody who's an entrepreneur might have major in like under Smeal's entrepreneurship major, but no, like he was able to take his RHS and psych majors and connect them, the skills that he gained connecting two people to create a company that helps others connect with each other, which is pretty cool. Then we have Nicole. So Nicole's one of our mentors in our mentor program. She is a compensation advisor at PNC. So she went from HR more so into the financial route of things. And she majored in psychology with a business minor and a labor studies minor. And then we have lastly, Mary Beth, who is also a mentor in our program. She is a PsyD candidate and a mental health professional, and she majored in nothing related to psychology. She majored in English, Spanish, and linguistics. Yeah, she was a rock star student. But it just goes to show you that just because you don't major in psychology doesn't mean that you can't become a counselor or a psychotherapist. I always like to give an example of one of my really good friends from my counseling master's program. He did his undergrad in chemistry. And so, but as he was going through his undergraduate education, he realized that he didn't like the chemistry components to things, but was working on campus and really loved the work that he was doing one-on-one with students on campus, which made him switch into like more of a counseling program. So okay, so now we're going to talk. Do
you mind going back to the first person that you mentioned?
Yeah, Chad.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. I guess actually this is a really good time to pause. I should have done this earlier. Pause and ask if anybody has any questions before we move on from thinking about majors and careers in more of a broad way to kind of narrowing it down and talking more about specific skill sets. Any questions in here? You guys good? Any? Am I a counselor? Yes, I am a counselor, Joseph. Yes. So I work in the Career Enrichment Network, and we are, there's four of us who are career coaches in our office, and we work one-on-one with students and help them with like career decision making and planning, and like today we had our resume review day, and so yeah, anybody who is on this who wants to talk with me or another career coach in our office one-on-one, we are more than happy to do so, and you can make an appointment through Nittany Lion Careers, and I have a link to that at the end of the slides. So, okay, so if you don't mind speeding up. Okay, so going into creating your career pathway. So, obviously, I feel like the slide is a little misleading because it presents career development in a very linear way. However, we know that just developing as a person is not linear. Like, you may think that you want to go a certain direction, you have an experience or an epiphany, or you learn something about yourself or other people, and it makes you rethink things and self-assess. So I would like to, I think I need to modify this graphic where the self-awareness piece of things should go as a subsection for each of the exploring your major and career and developing skills and marketing yourself to employers. But so if we were to present this linearly in like decision making, it would be gaining self-awareness, and from that from that self-awareness of your values, your goals, your skills, you explore different majors and career pathways, which I know a lot of you have probably done or are currently doing. And from there, once you kind of have made that decision, then you start to develop the knowledge, the skills, and abilities that are going to help solidify that direction that you want to go down. And then from there, you can use those skills and articulate them by marketing yourself to employers. So we're going to focus on the orange one for today, of like developing that knowledge, skills, abilities, and how that connects to liberal arts majors. So if you wouldn't mind going to that side, sorry. So I know I know I saw a couple people who were in my LA 103 class. They've seen this graphic before. But every year, the National Association of Colleges and Employers puts out a survey United States wide of what employers are looking for in potential candidates. And this is what we get back from them. So we see that employers aren't desiring a particular major, a particular class that a student has taken. Rather, they are looking for skills. So things like leadership, ability to work in a team, verbal and written communication, being able to problem solve and take initiative, being entrepreneurial, maybe a risk taker, having strategic planning skills. These are the things that can't necessarily be taught. Like, I mean, I'm sure that you could take a class on, I don't know, how to be organized, but it's really something that you envelop yourself into and practice. So because employers don't want to have to teach new employees how to take initiative or how to lead or how to contribute. They want to teach them like how their company or how their organization runs, or like the learning curve with learning how like the system works within their company, so they know who to talk to and when. They don't want to have to focus on like that, like flexibility or being able to adapt. And these are the things that you get from a liberal arts major. You are able to gain some of these skills, especially critical thinking and analysis, throughout your classes, from research to like group work that you're doing to like papers and proposals and all of that good stuff. So Stacey, would you mind going to the next one? So what I want you all to do is think about your transferable skills in the classroom. So I want you to think, because I should have taken a poll at the beginning of this, but I didn't. If you're a first year student and this is like your first semester or your first year in school at Penn State, maybe think of a high school class that you took. But for everybody else, I want you to think of a college class that you've taken and what skills you've derived from it. So for the people who are on Zoom, if you wouldn't mind just listing maybe the class and a skill that you got from it. All right. And for those here, anybody want to take a jab? Yeah, like,
I learned how to write in a very like academic and research way from my Psych 301W course, which is like just a research and writing course.
yeah, absolutely. So for those who might not have heard her, so Psych 301W helped her do and gain skills within research writing and academic writing. Absolutely. So, okay, so hold on real quick. Somewhat related, does this also apply to grad school? Like I was told by my previous academic advisor at Penn State Barron that I had to take Stat 200, but it didn't. So will that likely affect my application? So it depends, Mohammed, on what this might be a better question for an academic advisor. And this is something that I can talk to you about this week. But it depends on what is required for you to graduate. Like if statistics, like Stat 200 is a requirement for your curriculum to graduate. But it also depends, like if you are looking at a grad program, and if you have a grad program in mind, they may have a list, most of them have a list of classes that they want you to have taken prior to being accepted into graduate school. And statistics may be one of them, depending on the different type of program that you're looking at. So that's a really good question, but we can talk about that a little bit more later. So yeah, of course. Anybody else who can think of like a high school or a college course? Okay, so Simone said ability to working in a team and research skills in agriculture ethics. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. So that teamwork, that research, those analytical skills. Good. Anyone else? One more?
I have to learn how to facilitate, I guess, what's it called? Small groups.
Yeah.
In what's called sociology for,
Yeah. Okay.
for
So
like world conversation.
for world in conversation, yeah. So you have to learn how to facilitate small groups. That is a wonderful skill to learn, because not only are you learning how to actively listen and link conversations, but you're also learning how to reflect back empathetically, and that's really awesome. That's such a good experience. Good. Okay. Thank you for all. Oh, did you want to?
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, I'll pick on you for the next one. Okay. Okay. So now I want you to think about, if you wouldn't mind going to the next one, Stacey. So transferable skills beyond your major. So obviously, like we're getting a lot of skills from what we learn within the classroom. However, a lot of times, like we're learning theoretically, and again, we're like writing papers and doing those types of reflections. Whereas when we think about our skills that we're developing outside the classroom, that's where employers are going to be asking about those during interviews. That's what you're going to be talking about when you go to write a personal statement. Oh, real quick, I want to just pause real quick because Matthew said CAS 100B, working within a group to research topics and make a presentation on them. Yes, group work is such a learned skill that requires a lot of patience. That's a really good example. Thanks, Matthew. So back to kind of thinking about transferable skills beyond your major. When we hear from employers what types of experiences they want from prospective employees, and admissions committees, they're looking for things like undergraduate research. So taking advantage of, I mean, we're a Research One institution here at Penn State. There's so many opportunities to get involved in research here. Even just to test out the waters. I remember when I was a student, I wanted to go to grad school. I was thinking about doing research, and so I got involved in a research lab for a year, figured out it wasn't for me, and that helped me figure out what I didn't want to do, because remember, figuring out what you want to do is also figuring out what you don't want to do. Volunteer work, this is huge. A lot of people write off volunteer work, but there are so many ways in it, especially because I know that I saw a lot of psych majors come through. We have a ton of great nonprofits in our area who take volunteers. If you're looking to go and working within nonprofits or programming or advocacy or counseling or anything like that, where you can get experience one-on-one or within a programming institution in nonprofits in the area as a volunteer. We also, internships, that's probably the first thing that kind of comes to mind, where it's like, okay, I have to get an internship to put it on my resume. But just because you don't have intern next to your name doesn't mean that it's not a good experience. But at the same time, we highly encourage internships. We have employers posting every single day internships on Mini-Line Careers wanting to hire Penn State students. And all different types of areas, whether it's editing, whether it's, I'm trying to think of the, Stacey, the last email that you sent with all of the list of internships available that you send out weekly.
Yeah.
So many. Human resources, anything within finance and behavioral health. There's just a lot of opportunities out there. Part-time jobs is another area that we tend to write off as well. I know that, like, for instance, when I was a student here, I worked at the dining commons for the first 2 years because I needed money. I needed to you know, be able to buy food. Rather for further, okay, I was a Pollock person, but all right, Mohammed. But part-time jobs like that, they teach you things like initiative and customer service and being able to work within a very fast-paced environment and deal with difficult people, difficult or frustrating customers. And it also teaches you organization. So there's a lot of things that part-time jobs can give you, whether it's retail or whether it's food service or whether it's like a work study on campus, anything like that. Study abroad and education abroad is also really great and really important because it's teaching us global fluency, it's teaching diversity of cultures, and especially as we are becoming a more global society, these types of education abroad programs are invaluable. And we run a lot of them through our office, so I highly recommend checking that out. And then last but not least is student orgs and leadership. So I know that a bunch of you are probably involved on exec boards, whether it's for Greek Life or Thon, or maybe a different type of student org, whether it's professional related or just a fun type of student org. That type of leadership skills are things that, again, employers are going to ask you about in different types of situations. So if we go to the next slide. So I want you to think about how you can connect this to a different types of career paths. So the first is through the job and the internship search. And this is asking yourself, when you're reading through that job or internship or leadership experience posting, if you can do 80% of what is on there, apply. But also asking yourself, do I want to do this? Because remember, just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you have to do it. So do you want to do that job? Can you do the job? The second is through the resume and cover letter. So like when we go to apply to different types of positions, most likely what you're going to be required to submit is a resume and a cover letter. A resume most people have heard of, where a cover letter, a lot of people haven't heard of it until they've been required to write it. It's basically a bridge between the resume and the job description, where you're making an argument for yourself as to why you are qualified for the position and what you like about the employer. But it brings into consideration the importance of keywords. So like if you take a look at that job description or that internship description, or the admissions page for a graduate program, you can see like what are they looking for in potential candidates. Are you going to be required to coordinate, to implement, to organize, to communicate, to lead, to discuss, and how can you connect that to past experiences? The next one is interviewing. So this is where you can take skills like being able to communicate verbally and non-verbally and apply it and articulate your skills and experience as well within an interviewing setting. The best thing that you can do is practice. So like whether it's doing a mock interview program or meeting with a career coach to talk about how do I best articulate what I have done in my experiences to what they're asking for in the job. And also thinking about congruent values as well. So again, like coming back to that first question of like, why do we choose our major, different things like that. Asking yourselves, okay, like what types of values am I holding on and capturing, and does my work environment or the job description reflect those values? And then last but not least is personal statements. So thinking about how your experiences have shaped your story. I always like giving this example. I worked with a student very closely last spring, I think. And she was applying to different counseling programs. She was a psych student, but she didn't have any experience really outside of customer service at Target. She worked for Target, and she had taken a couple outside classes within the community about mental health support. And she was so worried that she wasn't going to get into any graduate programs because she was like, oh my gosh, all I have is this customer service experience at Target. But what we were able to do with her personal statement was tell a story of how she was able to help different customers in different ways and be there to support them and answer their questions, especially like one customer in a time of need. And we put that into her story within her personal statement. And she wound up getting into, I think, 7 of the 8 grad schools that she applied to. So a lot of times, like, I feel like we write ourselves off because we don't have that perfect experience. Like, we don't have exactly what the employer is looking for. Well, it's because you haven't done the job yet. So really, it's kind of giving yourself the credit for the experiences and for the classes that you've taken and shaping that into your story through your resume, through interviewing, and if you're applying to graduate programs through admissions. So, all right, can we go to the next slide, Stacey?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so what's next? So I always like to put action items at the end because I think it's really helpful. So I know I talked a lot and this is probably a lot to process for everybody. So 2 online resources that I love that I think will be even more tangible for you all and connect with the very, like, your specific major, because if I had the time, I would have gone through all of the laundry list of majors that liberal arts has, and given you very specific career paths that direct it to it. But what can I do with this major is probably the best site for that. It'll connect you out to the career services webpage, and you'll see a box that says, what can I do with this major? You'll click that, and it's from the University of Tennessee. It doesn't have some of the exact Penn State majors, but it's pretty close. So this is a really, really helpful tool where you can just scroll down and see, okay, what are all of the different common and transferable career titles that relate to my major and the skills that I've gained from it. The next is My Next Move. So this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They put this together really, really well. You can type in a keyword or type in like a specific job title, and up will pop all of the different knowledge, skills, abilities that you need to gain in order to succeed within that career. Yeah.
Are we gonna receive these resources in an email or anything?
Yeah, I can send them out to everybody on Zoom, and also all of you here. I'll send them over to you. I'll just send the PowerPoint over.
Okay, thanks.
And then in-person resources, real quick. So we have, like I said, our office, the Career Enrichment Network, is located in 101 Sparks Building. We offer career coaching. You can meet with me, one of the other career coaches in our office, one-on-one. We also have a host of different types of resources. So this week especially is Liberal Arts Career Week. So there are tons of different programs going on this week that can be really helpful in you being a little bit more proactive in your career planning. Next week, we have our virtual recruiting week. So that we have a list of employers who want to talk to students one-on-one in liberal arts. And you can sign up for, I think it's a 15-minute time slot, 20-minute time slot, 20-minute time slot to talk to the recruiter, to see what they're looking for in a position, to learn more about their organization, and to kind of present yourself to them. We also have an Alumni Mentor program, which if you haven't joined, I highly recommend it, where you can get paired one-on-one with a mentor, and they can help you through your career development. We offer education abroad, different embedded types of courses if you're interested in going abroad and studying in that way. And then we also offer enrichment funding. So if you obtain an internship experience, whether paid or unpaid, as well as some other different types of experiences like research or education abroad, we can help fund part of that experience. It won't fund the full thing, but it'll help you out. Career Services also has a really great list of resources too. So there's Central Career Services in the that's okay, in the Bank of America building. Highly recommend them for the mock interview program that they have. Academic advising can be really helpful as well. So if you haven't met with your academic advisor this semester yet, I recommend it. And then I already talked about funding. So, all right, I think that's it. Any questions from people here? Yeah, cool, sorry.
Is it possible to have so like for me, it would be like instead of a psychology